Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Delighted we're joined by people from all over the globe today, and it is a beautiful sunny afternoon in Dublin. So I hope wherever you are today that you are well. And just to, before we get started on the content around this micro session of women in leadership, if you would, in the chat box, please just tell us where you are today and maybe just one word to describe how you're feeling. And there's no judgment here, so whatever you're feeling today, and this is going to be connected in with one of the key messages from the session around emotional intelligence and actually just the importance of just checking in as to how are you today. And already I've seen Ilham in Bahrain has put a post up very early, so you're very welcome. And I'm sure it's pretty hot in Bahrain at the moment. I am missing my trips to the Middle East dreadfully. But whoever else would like to just share with us today in the chat box where you are and one word to describe how you're feeling. And while people are doing that, I'll just briefly share with you what brings me here today with you. So I've been working with the RCSI Institute of Leadership, and now you know our new name. So very excited about being part of the Graduate School of Healthcare Management. I've been here for the last 7 years, and my role is academic, but I also am involved in executive education here. I'm a chartered coaching psychologist professionally, and I've been working in the leadership development and talent management area for the last 20 years. And I feel so old saying that, but it's true. So I've been in this space. Prior to joining the Royal College of Surgeons, I worked with Deloitte. So I came from that sort of very corporate professional services background and made the move into healthcare. And I've been really honoured and privileged to work with amazing healthcare leaders during that time, and in particular, women in healthcare. So I've been working in the Middle East, running programs for the last 7 years. I'm going to share with you a little bit about the work we do in the women in leadership space. And then I'm going to share some content around one of the biggest barriers to women progressing. And finally, I'm going to share a little bit of information on our 30% Club scholarship. So I hope everyone will find the session enjoyable, but also that you'll take some actions from our session today. Just having a look at the chat. Let's see. Lovely to see we have people. Fatima's in Bahrain, feeling thankful. Great. Linda's in Kildare, and the sun is helping. Absolutely. Rose is happy. Lisola is in Nigeria. Fantastic. And you're feeling great. Jennifer's in Kinsale. Hello, Jennifer. Elaine in sunny Donegal. Beautiful. Nowhere nicer in Ireland, I think. Christine is in Dublin, moving to Saudi Arabia in 3 weeks to nurse. Christine, how exciting. We wish you all the very best with that. Feeling empowered. Okay, I'm seeing lots of positive emotion here, which is wonderful. So you're all very, very welcome. And it's great to have everyone with us today. So just to share with you, to give you a flavour of our experience and the work we've been doing in the women in leadership area. So for the last 7 years now, we've been running programs in the Middle East. This year, we're working with a global pharmaceutical company, working with their mid-tier female managers who have been identified as having broader leadership potential. So we're doing a 7-month program with that global organization. Prior to that, we've run a number of open programs. 180 women leaders in healthcare from the GCC have completed our programs in the Middle East. And each year we theme our program. So some examples would be influencing with charisma and presence and being at your best. And the overall aim of this work is really to develop leadership capability and to provide a collaborative network of female leaders in healthcare. And I think that is so key, the importance of building that collaborative network. It's even more challenging in these pandemic times, and we need to be more proactive around building that network. And you can see there's some of the feedback we've received, that the programs are interactive, reflective, eye-opening, informative, and helpful. And I love this one. You know, this program helped me realize who I am and what I really want to do. So great. And I just want to make sure, Amy, you're seeing the Women in Leadership slide. Just make sure.
I can, yeah, go on ahead.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Excellent. So just all of our programs, we do have very inspirational guest speakers, because we think it's very important to hear from role models. It's important to hear the stories of women. And we've had the joy of hearing from Dr. Haraya Kasim, who's one of our own alumni from the Royal College of Surgeons. And Dr. Haraya was the first breast surgeon in the UAE. She's a wonderful speaker if you ever have the opportunity to hear her. And Dr. Laila Al-Sawadi was also a guest speaker on our programs, and she is the Dean for Student Wellbeing and Happiness at the Mohammed bin Rashid University in Dubai. So before we get into discussing this topic of women in leadership, I'd like to put it to you, please, if you can, in the chat box, share any thoughts you might have. Why are we here today? So what are some of the barriers to women progressing in organizations? I'm really interested in any thoughts or observations you have. What are some of the barriers? Why do we need to put such programs in place, such scholarships in place? What, in your view, are some of the barriers that we're seeing? So I'd love to hear from you in the chat box. It's always challenging in these scenarios. Sometimes I feel like you're just talking into a shoebox. So I'd love to get your thoughts and comments as we go along today. That would be fantastic. Okay, so let's see. Amy's just put up, what are some of the barriers? Okay. Jennifer is saying sometimes ourselves. Very interesting, Jennifer, and I absolutely agree. We can often get in our own way, and I see that a lot in the leadership coaching work I do, particularly in healthcare. Fatima is saying motherhood, and I think there's so many competing roles in our lives at the moment, and motherhood certainly can be an area, I think, of challenge for women in leadership, and areas where we do need support at times. Underrepresentation of women in senior management, absolutely. I mentioned role modeling already and the importance of that. But in some situations, in some roles, we don't have female role models, or perhaps they're not the best role models for us to have. Balancing family obligations can be, yes, absolutely. Elaine, I think you mentioned EW is Elaine, recognition of qualities. That's just jumped off. Just bear with me. Blackboard, sometimes the chat, a lot of chat comes in. It can, recognition of qualities, especially if other commitments such as family, we cannot fulfill the roles completely. Okay, so that's again the multiple roles piece. It's almost, and apologies, that is my dog. The joys of home working. He was asleep, and now I realise he's not asleep.
I can read some of these out, Mary, if you like.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so Aoife O'Connor has said it's almost in our blood to feel less at times. I suppose that would be true. Sometimes, especially, I mean, okay. And we also have, let me see, fear of failure. Precedent, we are in a challenging environment and going through a tough transition. That's very true of now. Equality, Christine Cooper says, equality in the workplace. Sometimes women are made to feel guilty if they prioritize work to family life. I think that's very true as well. And Marie Burrows has said fear of failure. Yeah, I think we can all relate to that, men and women. We need to learn tools that help us to be out of our shell. Very true. Not enough role models. I think Mary mentioned that already as well. Very true. Sometimes made to feel it's not our time to progress. And self-esteem, confidence in ourselves. Yeah, I think that's very true as well. Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, great insights there from everyone. So we're seeing a mix of, institutional barriers, personal barriers. Rose is saying emotional intelligence, sometimes suppressed. I'm glad you brought that up, Rose. We will be talking about that shortly. I think confidence absolutely is another one. Role models, if you can't see it, you can't be it. Imposter syndrome. Grania, you must have seen our slides for today. Um, we'll be talking about that in a moment. Okay, so thank you so much. I just wanted to get us really thinking and exploring what those barriers are and what can we do to overcome them. So I'd like to share with you now a report, a really interesting report, LHH. It's an international research report on the distinguishing behaviours and beliefs in women who advance. So I'm a big believer and proponent of positive psychology. I use it a lot in all aspects of my work. And rather than just focusing on the barriers, let's focus on the behaviours of women who do succeed. Now, we can share this report to those of you who are interested after our session today. But when the study looked at the top 5 distinguishing behaviours and beliefs, I'll just walk through them here. Number 1 is a clear shared career plan. And this is very, very important that women firstly have a career plan, and secondly, it is shared and it is known. A clear shared career plan. Number 2, the women who advanced in the study were their own self-advocates. So again, that you are your own champion in the workplace, self-advocate. Number 3 is related to the ability to influence upwards. And I think a lot of women that I see in my work and our workshops over the years, they tend to be very good at managing their teams. But when it comes to influencing and managing upwards, there is often areas for development there. Then we have networking, and I've already mentioned the importance of this, networking with stakeholders. And in this digital age, we need to be more creative and innovative as to how we network. And I think, the research tells us that women do network differently to men, and that women do prefer more structured networking. And then the most important area was the high confidence. The women who succeed exhibit high self-confidence. So I thought that report was very interesting, and it also is very consistent with other research in this area. So I want to share with you a short case study about Anna. Not her real name, just to say, and not her photo. So Anna is a colorectal surgeon, and I worked with her when I joined the Royal College of Surgeons. Now it was about 6 or 7 years ago, and I was doing coaching work with Anna. So Anna is an amazing surgeon. The feedback she receives consistently is her team adore working with her. Her patients love her. She's always getting exceptional feedback from patients, from colleagues, and technically she's brilliant. She's always done extremely well academically. So she's what we would say an all-rounder. Now, the problem with Anna is she is absolutely, or was, I should say, crippled with just not feeling good enough. And despite all of this external validation, she just didn't truly believe it. She didn't internalize that success. So Anna and I worked together for about 6 months, and she is an example of someone who was really struggling with imposter syndrome. So we had to do a lot of work together to really build up her confidence and her self-belief. And I always remember her saying to me in the first coaching session, she said, Mary, even knowing there's a term for this has been hugely helpful, that it's not just me, that other people experience this as well. So when I thought about our session today and I thought, how can we maximize this short time together? I've decided to go with a topic that I see has reared its head even more so in the pandemic, and it's the whole area of imposter syndrome. And I think, Grania, you brought it up as one of the barriers in the chat box earlier. So just to share with you some quotes. You think, why would anyone want to see me again in a movie? And I don't know how to act anyway, so why am I doing this? So who said that? The wonderful Meryl Streep. When I won the Oscar, I thought it was a fluke. I thought everybody would find out and they'd take it back. They'd come to my house knocking on the door. Excuse me, we meant to give that to someone else. That was going to Meryl Streep. And that was Jodie Foster's voice. The exaggerated esteem in which my life work is held makes me very ill at ease. I feel compelled to think of myself as an involuntary swindler. Who said that? The one and only Albert Einstein. So you can see a common thread here. Imposter syndrome, and this is what I find really fascinating about it, is in the domain of high performing individuals. And we find in healthcare it is very prevalent because we've a lot of very high performing individuals where the inner critic is very, very active. So I'd like everyone to have a moment of reflection now. Do you suffer from imposter syndrome? And the term was coined by two psychologists in the 1970s, and it describes a set of beliefs that has us feeling we are frauds, we are some way lacking or unworthy. We don't deserve our success, and it's only a matter of time before we're found out. So what do I hear in my work when I'm working with women in healthcare? I don't deserve this. I'm only here because I was lucky. Someone must have made a mistake. I feel like a fraud. It's only a matter of time before I'm found out. I'm not up to this. I don't deserve this. And my personal favorite, if I can do this, it can't be that hard. So really it's the sense that on any given day, you're going to be found out. And it is estimated that about 70%, 70 to 80% of senior women in leadership experience this on a very regular basis. And men also experience it, but not to the same levels as women do. So I'm going to share with you some strategies to help you overcome this if this is an issue for you. But firstly, I want to position it within leadership because this is a session around leadership, and I'm going to share with you one of the most useful definitions that I've come across and I use in my work around leadership within the Institute. And quite simply, this definition defines leadership as the process whereby an individual influences a group of individuals to achieve common goals. And Nordhaus would say the most critical part of this definition is influencing. So how can we influence? And this is where we need to exhibit high self-confidence, and we need to manage that imposter syndrome if we are to demonstrate leadership in our roles. And high self-confidence is also an important competence of emotional intelligence and leadership. And to share with you a definition of emotional intelligence, it is the capacity for recognizing our own feelings and those of others, for motivating ourselves and for managing emotions well in ourselves and in our relationships. And I'd like to recommend to those of you who are new to this area of emotional intelligence or want to develop this area, the work of Dr. Martin Newman. So this is Martin's book, Emotional Capitalists, The New Leaders, and his work is based on international research with leaders. And we know that leaders have a high IQ, but what differentiates the great leaders, they have a high IQ and a high EQ. And the model looks at 10 core competencies. It looks at the inner focus, the outer focus, and the other focus. And for the purposes of today, I really want to focus in on self-confidence. And building and developing our self-confidence is so important in overcoming imposter syndrome and in developing our leadership. So just to focus in on we know that women score slightly higher in the studies on empathy and relationship skills, and men score just slightly higher on self-control and self-confidence. So we know women, our confidence levels are improving, but there's still work to be done. And sadly, millennial women are still plagued by self-doubt. The studies on younger women, there is a lot of work to be done in this area. So within the emotional capital framework, self-confidence is defined as when you accept and respect who you are, and you essentially like the person you are, you're comfortable in your own skin, you're confident in your skills and abilities, and you can maintain motivation to achieve challenging goals. Now, I've underlined that because now more than ever, many of us find ourselves in this psychological state of languishing. So we're not depressed, we're not sort of at that clinical level, but we're not full of joy and living our best lives at the moment. There's so many challenges, particularly in healthcare, so many unknowns with this pandemic. So how can we maintain our motivation? Well, increasing your confidence will really help with that motivation. So what can we do? So I wanted to give you a flavor of some of the practical ways that you can develop your self-confidence. The first thing is awareness. I think when you notice those imposter thoughts coming in, to manage that inner critic and notice how you speak to yourself. Would you speak to a good friend or colleague the way you speak to yourself? So gently challenge those thoughts when they come through. Replace them with more truthful, empowering thoughts. Remind ourselves of our strengths and our successes. And I'd like to share with you, and perhaps Amy in the chat, you can just pop in this website. One of the best ways to, I think, focus on our strengths is to actually know what they are. So the values in action, the VIA character strengths profile is one that you can do. It's free of charge, it's available, it's rooted in really good science, so coming out of Professor Martin Seligman's work, and the website is viacharacter.org. If you go onto that website, you can complete this profile and find out what your signature strengths are. When you know that, I would encourage you to engage with those strengths daily. Make sure that you engage with those strengths because that's where you will find your flow. That's where you will tend to find more fulfillment and your well-being will increase. So remind yourself of those strengths and engage with them regularly. Go to the edge of your comfort zone daily. Really important that we stretch ourselves and we go to the edge of our comfort zone. And one of the best ways to develop your confidence as a female leader is to have a good mentor. Now, Professor David Clutterbuck, who is the world guru on mentoring, I think he's on his 75th book at the moment on mentoring and coaching. And Professor Clutterbuck would suggest that we should all have an informal mentor and a formal mentor in our lives. So perhaps it's a parent or an aunt or a former boss or a colleague, someone that you meet up with that gives you a boost, that sees your potential, that really builds you up. And in our workplaces, we should all aim to have a formal mentor. That is a really, really excellent way, and a way that I've seen over the years works really well for women in leadership. So we've done a bit of a whirlwind tour of imposter syndrome, emotional intelligence, and self-confidence. And I'd like to close with this quote. Low self-confidence isn't a life sentence. Self-confidence can be learned, practiced, and mastered, just like any other skill. And once you master it, everything in your life will change for the better. So remember, self-confidence is like a muscle, and we can develop it and we can work in it. So I would encourage each of you to take just one thing from this session today, one action you can take to develop your self-confidence and really enhance your leadership capability. So I'm conscious of our time together, and I'm delighted that we have Sarah with us. Is that right, Amy?
Yes, Sarah Hume has just joined us. Sarah, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, Mary.
Hello, Sarah.
Hi, Amy.
Lovely to see
Hello,
you.
Sarah.
So let me just briefly just go through this process, and then I will introduce Sarah. So we've been delighted to be part of the 30% Club scholarship scheme for the last 3 years. And we would love anyone on this call today who has not already applied to really consider putting an application in. So we've extended the deadline. We have 4 scholarships on offer, and Franco's going to talk a little bit more at the end of the call to give you further detailed information. But just some key dates at this stage. So the application is the 15th of July is the deadline for applying, the 15th of July. The interviews will take place on the 26th of July, and the decision will be made by the 13th of August. So we have 2 scholarships for the Masters in Leadership and 2 scholarships for the Professional Diploma in Clinical Leadership. So again, I'd really encourage you to explore and look into this if you haven't already. And if you have, you may have some questions, which we will have time for at the end. But at this point, I am truly delighted to welcome Sarah. Sarah Hume is an alumni of the RCSI Institute of Leadership and a recipient of a 30% Club scholarship. Sarah completed the Masters in Leadership with us. She currently works as Principal Psychologist with the Irish Prison Service. She has a wonderful array of skills. She has really fascinating experience and wisdom when it comes to this whole area of women in leadership. She's a history of working in the area of forensic mental health. She's skilled in hostage negotiation, cognitive behavioral therapy, among others. And Sarah brought a huge amount to our MSc in leadership. We were truly delighted to have her on the programme. And I was personally truly honoured and delighted to see Sarah on her journey from the first interview, Sarah, which I think you came in with a broken arm, if I remember. We might talk more about that later, right through to completing the programme. So Sarah, you are very welcome. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Mary. It's lovely to hear your voice again. I've missed it since the MSc finished. And my brain is now firing with lots of neurons because listening to you talk, I was like, yep, I recognize that. I recognize that. So I'll try and weave in some of what you were saying there into what I have to say to you all today. As Mary said, I'm a principal psychologist. I actually did 2 interviews on the day of the scholarship programme and got both, where I got a promotion and I got the RCSI 30% Club scholarship. So it was a good day in the office that day. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I ended up applying and how I experienced doing the programme and how it impacted on my career from that point onwards, and the benefits of being involved in such an amazing programme. So I suppose I'll go back to earlier in my career where I probably had that imposter syndrome that Mary's describing, as probably most of us do to some extent. I had a colleague, again, who probably played the role of a mentor with me, who could see that I was competent but not confident. And that was where he came in to say, look, how about doing this? And waved the scholarship in front of me and said, would you apply for this? And he'd actually done the course already in previous years and was saying, look, come on, this is the one for you. And I kind of took a chance and just, it was very kind of quick turnaround to apply. But I just did it anyway because I said, right, come on, let's do it. And I think, it was a really, I probably didn't think too much about it, because if I thought too much about it, there would have been lots of reasons why I might have not done it, like having 3 children, having a full-time job, 3 young children at that stage. So, and it's a busy life at the moment, still. But I did it. I managed to pull it off, and I'm still standing to tell the tale. And thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to you today. I suppose just thinking about the program, it was like the start of a journey into kind of the confident me. And there are times when I still feel that the imposter syndrome is activated, but generally I've kind of inhabited a different space in myself over the last few years. I started probably with the MSc. It was like having a language to speak to make me feel confident from the outside in, and that language made me. I could see people sit up and listen to me and take notice of me, just because I could frame it in a way through the academic literature that I looked like I knew what I was talking about, and I didn't at that stage. It's only now that I've started to kind of have that lived experience a couple of years down the line, where it feels like I'm embodying it a bit more in my person. But I think that's been a process. I was just driving back from Roscommon this morning and thinking about the journey I've travelled in, where some of the males in the service who would have applied for the same jobs as me kind of engaged in the interview process with a confidence and an entitlement, actually, in the way I saw it. And I'm talking about some specific people here, but I couldn't understand how they could think that job was for them when I had such a different way of looking at it, was saying I wouldn't be good enough. And I think that was probably representative of a lot of females who were thinking about applying for promotions or management positions. And when I got the job, then I suppose I had to then live up to that. It was more than just getting the job. I had to then find the confidence to be able to do it. And I've had some very tricky conversations as a manager, and I've just found I've found myself in that in a different way. And I think the starting point was doing the MSc. It didn't end there; it's carried on. But it's that moment when suddenly you wake up and go, "I've got this," and that's quite a recent thing for me. So, and I hope this is helpful to hear. But I suppose, practically speaking, I remember sitting on the induction 3 days and literally going, "Oh my God, what have I done? Why did I do this to myself? What have I done?" Because it happened so quickly, I didn't think too much about it. And then I sat there and thought, "Oh my God, this was a mistake." And I think it was just sitting at the bottom of the mountain saying, "How am I going to climb that?" But actually, it wasn't a mountain. It had peaks and troughs, but it was quite well managed. The pace was nice. The way that the schedule was organized meant that I could take a few days out of the office, attend to the content of the course, and then do the work in between in my own time in a very managed way. That, if I can do it with 3 children and a full-time job, then that speaks to itself. I'm not saying it wasn't difficult at times. There were points when my kids were like, "Where have you gone, Mummy?" And they didn't really understand what I was doing at that age. They were, and there were times when I had that mammy guilt that you talked about as well, Mary. And I think the what I do know is they saw what I was doing, and they've learnt from it. I have a daughter, so she's seen me study. She's seen, the journey I've been on, and I think that speaks to something about modelling to our daughters. That me too. I'm important, and I'm a leader, and they know me as a, at the same time, as I finished the MSc, I got a temporary acting up position as the head of service. So they saw me as the boss. That's how they referred to me, as the boss. So I think that message to my daughter is an important one, and it was worth it for the blood, sweat and tears at times. But it was paced nicely. It didn't feel overwhelming. The second year for me was much easier because it was far more independent. So the way it was done, it didn't feel like too much. It didn't feel like it was too much for me to manage. And the only disappointment was that we didn't get the graduation because of COVID. So my kids didn't get to see me come up on the stage with the gown. The whole YouTube graduation didn't quite have that same feel. But they came over, looked at the screen, and went, "Oh yeah, great, Mum, thanks," and walked away again. But I was trying to say, "Look at this, look at what Mummy did," and it just didn't have the same impact. But they got the message of what I was doing. For my sins, I've now gone on to take on a PhD, and I haven't stopped there. So I think it's kind of woken up my my study again. And I guess at that point it was probably 20 years since I was in education. So I think the overwhelm at the induction was kind of this whole new technology. Education had changed a lot since I was in college. Things like Moodles, and the people at the time were talking on the front, and I was like, I have no idea what they're talking about. It's like a whole new world, of whole new language. And now I'm just, familiar with the systems and the technology, and it was all fine. Some of the parts, because I'm down the country, I wasn't in Dublin, I thought might be tricky, because I thought if we did any group work, we'd have to kind of come together, but we didn't. We could do it remotely, we could work, and probably that's how it all is now at the moment, with distance learning and COVID. So I suppose, it's given me the starting point to find, and I looked at the quote. You said, "Help me realize who I am." I mean, that probably, I didn't write that. That wasn't my quote, but it kind of helped me find myself, I think, is probably a good sentence. And without the 30% club scholarship, I simply wouldn't have been able to do the MSc, because I wouldn't have got the funding through my work, not without a fight or without more blood, sweat and tears. So it gave me an easy win to get it over the line with my employers. All they had to do was give me a bit of time off to support me, in combination with taking some annual leave. It was really a no-win. It was a win-win for everybody. So I wouldn't have got the chance to do something like this without the 30% club, and it's a fantastic opportunity. And I can't say it enough. If anybody's thinking about it, if you've got any doubts, just do it anyway. You won't regret it.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was so informative, and it's great to hear your experience of managing, not just your studies, but your work-life balance, and the insight into being a working and studying mom. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I'm now going to hand you over to Francisco, who is our recruitment coordinator in Bahrain. Franco, are you there?
Yeah, thank you very much, Amy.
Great, yeah. Thank you. Can we see you?
Cool.
We can. Fabulous.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that, Amy. And thank you very much, Sarah, for that talk. It's very insightful and very motivational, definitely. Yeah. So I'm just going to be talking about the how to apply for the 30% club scholarship. Yeah. So right now I'm going to pop in the link over the chat. Yeah. Cool. 1 second. Great. So basically, the 30% club scholarship is actually open to all female applicants, and the 30% club scholarship are for 2021, 2023, and this is only for the MSc in leadership and in the professional diploma in clinical leadership as well. Yeah. So in order for you to actually apply for this application, you need to submit your CV and a written submission of 500 words. Yeah. And any submission which runs to over 500 plus 10% words will be automatically be disqualified for the competition. So again, we've actually extended the deadline, which is on the 15th of July 2021. Yeah. And we'll be contacting you shortly, like around August, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, right, Amy? Cool. 1 second. Yeah.
That is right. Yeah. So
Yeah,
we've
second.
extended this deadline, everyone, 30% scholarship to the 15th of July. Interviews will take place on the 26th of July, and decisions will be made around the 13th of August, the second week in July.
Perfect. Great. So we'll be, if you have any questions about the applications, please feel free to unmute yourself, and or you can also just type in on the chat.
And Franco, I might just ask you just to talk about the application process for all programs, just so we give everyone an overview of that as well, please.
Of course.
Thank you.
So please, if you are planning to start the program this coming September, please visit the website at www.rcsi.com/leadership/study. Yeah. And in order for you to start the application, it'll take you around the 15 to 20 minutes. Yeah. So all you need to do is to actually like upload your documents, like your bachelor's degree certificate, your transcripts, your CV, a passport copy, and a photo of your passport size. Yeah. And then after that, we will be reviewing your applications. Okay. We'll be having a meeting with admissions committee department, and within a week or two, yeah, we'll be giving you the decision. Yeah. If you are accepted, yeah, we will, of course, going to contact you via email. Yeah. We'll give you a deadline. We'll give you around 3 weeks deadline to confirm your seat. If you are not accepted to the program, we will still going to contact you. Yeah. And at the same time, we will tell you the reason why you're not being accepted and what are the reasons. Cool. Any other questions for now?
Have we any questions from anybody?
So Amy, just on the chat, I'm just noticing Mimi has asked, she's on a phone at the moment. So Mimi, that's the character strengths. It's www.viacharacter.org. That's viacharacter.org. Hopefully you got that. Feel free to contact us after if not. We will share that report with you on this distinguishing behaviours of women who advance. And Christina's asking about the 30% club. Christine, the 30% club was set up as an organisation to support, to enhance the numbers of women in leadership roles across sectors. And one of their initiatives is a scholarship scheme, of which RCSI is one of the universities taking part. I think all major universities take part in this now. So it's a not-for-profit organisation aimed at improving female participation at leadership levels in organisations. Again, I'd encourage you to go to that link if you want to find out more information about the 30% Club and the scholarship scheme. Does anyone have a question? I think Sarah's still with us as well. We probably just have time for one or two, if anyone would like to ask.
And also just to mention, if you have any questions, any specific questions that you need answered, please contact us at leadership@rcsi.com. You'll see the email address there on the last slide. So that's, or you can go to our website, which is www.rcsi.com/leadership. A video of the webinar will also be available, and we will issue that to you next week. And like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with myself, Franco, or Miriam, and we can arrange a call to speak to you about your application, or for your application for the 30% club. We'll give you some more information about that.
I think Dr. Fatma asking about the what words will be. So basically it is basically the overview of your career to date and an outline of why is the program will benefit your career and your organization. That will be the what consists of the 500 words that you have to submit.
Yes, and Ilham is asking the application. So the MSc in leadership is general, correct, Ilham. We have run specific women in leadership executive programs that I spoke about at the start of my presentation. They were in person, and sadly at the moment that's not an option, but we certainly are always looking at if there is interest in running such programs, and the global pharmaceutical program we're running is for women only. That's within an organization. We're running that in a digital format. So Ilham, I'd encourage you, stay in touch with us if you want to contact us with your specific area of interest, and we will let you know when we're running such programs. Okay, Dr.
Candidate will be
Fatima.
available.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Dr.
think
Fatima.
I'm just conscious of our time as well. Some of you have specific questions in relation to your own application, so please do follow up with the team and they will be able to arrange a call to talk you through that in more detail. Great.
Yeah, we will contact you directly, Dr. Fatima.
Yes. Okay, I'm just conscious of everyone's time. We're just about exactly on the half hour now. So I would just like to extend my sincere thanks to each and every one of you for joining us today. Thank you so much. I hope you found it a good use of your time. I'd like to thank Professor Robert McMurray for opening our session. To Sarah, a huge thank you for sharing your personal story, and I'm so delighted you've started your PhD journey. We look forward to seeing how that unfolds. Thank you so much. And also to Amy and Franco and the team who've made today possible. Thanks to everyone. Do stay in touch with us, and we would love to see you at the RCSI Graduate School of Healthcare Management in the future. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, Mary, for an excellent talk this afternoon. I think we all really enjoyed that.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.